Welcome to Birthright Chapter 14, the map that exists just to show you how good Ryoma and Scarlet are. A common strategy for clearing this map is to send those two in range of as many enemies as possible and killing them all at enemy phase. It's a really easy way to clear the chapter quickly, but that's a lot of enemies being killed by units that barely gain experience from killing them. It seems like a waste, especially when it's so easy to reach these kill benchmarks against these enemies in other ways. Right before this chapter, the upgrade to the armory becomes available. From it, there are 3 items in particular that stand out: the Axe Splitter, the Sword Catcher, and the Pike Rune Club. These are D-rank effective weapons that have their might tripled against the weapon they're strong against. With the help of these, any units that can use axes or lances should be able to comfortably reach the kill specials against enemy cavaliers. They're even conveniently grouped by weapon type, so you don't even have to think about which enemies to bait. You can just send one unit into each group and have everyone in the group die. With that in mind, let's use this map as an opportunity to get a level 1 Hayato caught up with the rest of the army. In just 6 turns, we'll be turning Hayato from a trainee into a killing machine. Hayato is not the only member of the team that's behind where he probably should be in this clear. Everyone else is also significantly underleveled for this point in the game at level 10. That's probably where they would have been 4 chapters ago during a normal playthrough. That's not going to stop us though. Let's get started. The first thing we're doing this map is sending Reyna all the way out here to kill this outlaw. Reyna hits twice his combat. Each of these hits gives 1 charge of the guard gauge to her and 1 charge to her partner. Giving Reyna a Hayato backpack was done solely to get him these guard gauge charges. The guaranteed complete damage mitigation you get when the guard gauge is full is incredibly useful for surviving big enemy phases that would otherwise be massive risks. Right now, Hayato isn't positioned to enemy phase yet. Fortunately, that's not something that's difficult to change. We can see that when transferring Hayato away, that Reyna takes 2 guard gauge charges, while Hayato takes the other 2 for himself. Those charges are extremely important this coming enemy phase. They'll be allowing him to block an important attack. Even when units are unpaired, these charges remain with the unit. They can be made visible again if they get a pair partner. Azura is saying to Hayato so he can get in range of more enemies. He's separating Hinoko away. He'll be needing a different pair partner if we want to make things more reliable this turn. Sakura rallies luck to boost his luck by 8 points, translating to a 4-point hit boost. Another benefit of Sakura standing here is that it lets her apply her personal skill, Quiet Strength. It's an aura that reduces the amount of damage Hayato takes from this position. Enemies and fates can hit pretty hard, and when you're using a unit with stats as low as level 1 Hayato's, damage reduction skills can be a matter of life and death. Hinoko also provides Hayato with an attack boost from her personal skill, Rallying Cry, though he doesn't need it. The weapon he'll be using is so strong, he'll be one-shotting the unpromoted calves with or without the effect of this skill. Hayato currently has 11 speed. We want him to double these calves, who each have 10 speed. The threshold for doing that is 15 speed. Even though they're using steel lances that make it harder for them to double Hayato, weapons like these don't leave units any more vulnerable to being doubled. We'll still need to have 5 higher than this calf's displayed speed. The Pike Rune Club is a 10 might axe that deals 3 times effective damage against lances, giving it a total 30 mites against the calves he'll be going up against. It's available from the armory upgrade you get right as you get access to this chapter. It's a D rank weapon though, so Hayato won't be able to use it without some axe rank training or the arm scroll. Samurai is one of the few classes that gives the 4-speed Hayato needs when pairing up, so we'll be having Hinata pair up with Hayato this turn. Hayato being paired up also lets him use the guard gauge charges we gave him. Our next step in this clear is sending Rinka in to take care of these armor knights. We're using an HP tonic now instead of before the map to get ourselves a bit of extra healing experience. She's equipped with the hammer from chapter 12. She can comfortably one-shot any armor knight that attacks her. Jacob heals Rinka for a tiny bit of experience here. His positioning here allows him to use his damage-reducing aura in Rinka. We're also making a more aggressive play with Oboro. She's equipped with a Sword Catcher, and she's in range of 4 enemies. Conveniently, the 3 unpromoted ones that'll be suiciding on her are holding steel swords. These triple the might of her Sword Catcher. So by now you've probably gathered that this clear will be focused on building up Oboro and Hayato. But why am I spending time training a foot-locked Lance-locked unit and a level 1 trainee in a class that he doesn't start in? Well, would you believe me if I told you that this is actually one of the more sensible and practical ways of raising some of your best long-term units? I am serious. I'll get to Oboro soon, but let's talk about Hayato. He really wants to spend as many levels in the Oni Savage class as possible for the extra plus 20 defense and HP growth that it gives him. From there, he can promote into Oni Chieftain and become one of the best Juggernauts in all of Birthright. Getting him into Oni Savage requires you to use a Heart Seal though, and Hayato is not the only unit that wants one. Korin might want to go into Cavalier or Wyvern, Jacob and Felicia might want to go into Paladin or Bow Knight, and Sakura might want to go into Sky Knight. There's only one Heart Seal available until right before this chapter. The second Heart Seal comes from a village in the chapter right before this. A third and fourth Heart Seal can be bought from an upgraded rod shop, but that upgrade is only available right when you unlock this chapter. If you've already committed to using your first Heart Seal on someone else, this is the first full chapter you can bring a newly reclassed unit into. If you want to use Oni Hayato but aren't giving him the first Heart Seal, this is where he will be starting. In the context of a full playthrough, it would be best to save either Paralog 1 or Invasion 1, or maybe both, until right before this chapter to get Hayato a few levels in Oni Savage and start training his Axe rank. Oboro could also easily reach the one-shot threshold in these calves. I'm intentionally making sure she doesn't do that so that we can maximize her guard gauge during enemy phase. Unfortunately, Hayato doesn't have the privilege of being able to hit each calf twice. The 30 effective might of the Pike Rune Club brings Hayato past the one-shot threshold for each of these calves. Even without any attack boosting skills or tonics, he would still one-shot them. Since he's 13 levels below the Cavalier, the kill gets him 69 experience. Nice. This Paladin is particularly threatening, dealing 5 more damage than the Cavaliers. Hayato barely survives this hit. Thanks to our maneuver with Reina, his guard gauge is filled, letting him survive against the next one coming at him. Rather than using the fact he can double to maximize guard gauge, doubling these calves instead gives him a second chance to land a kill. With hit rates as low as these, that's really nice. This brings his chance not to kill each of these calves to below 5%. Let's use this level up as another reminder that Hayato came into this map without getting a single stat point from leveling up. I've been intentionally showing off the worst case scenario, but that hasn't stopped him from being useful in enemy phase. It really doesn't take a super unit like Ryoma to comfortably win around the enemies in this map. I mentioned that Hayato hasn't leveled up a single time before this map, and the same is true for Oboro. Unfortunately, the Paladin in the group that Oboro is taking on comes equipped with a silver Naginata instead of a Seal Sword. It was probably placed here to scare Ryoma a bit. Not only does it not leave him vulnerable to the Sword Catcher, it also packs quite a punch. Fortunately, Jacob's aura is keeping the damage that Oboro is taking under control. This turn, our first order of business will be taking care of this Paladin with Hayato. He doesn't always land the first hit on enemy phase. Reina can step in to get him into kill range if that's needed. Hayato's hit rates on this map's Paladins are not good. This really hurts the reliability of this clear. He's already under the effects of skill unlock tonics. Each point of skill translates to 1.5 points of hit, and each point of luck translates to a half point of hit. The 2 skill and 4 luck boosts from the tonics gives him a total of 5 hits. After Azura swings for him for the first time each turn, Hayato also gets the effects of Inspiring Song. This increases his skill and luck by 3 points each for a total of 6 points of hit. I also try to have him adjacent to other units to stack more passive hit bonuses, particularly on player phase. Hayato landed the hit this time, but what if he didn't? Well, Azura is in range to refresh him and give him another go at getting the kill. But if that fails, a shelter from Silas can get Azura to refresh him again. This gives him another shot at killing the Paladin, or he can move into position for next turn. If Hayato doesn't end up getting the kill, Reina can pick it up instead. Now, some of you might still be skeptical of the overall reliability of this strategy, despite how many failsafes I've routed in for Hayato's hit rates. I've actually routed an alternate clear that gets level 1 Hayato to 100% hits without any RNG elements, grinding, or DLC abuse. It is a bit restrictive when it comes to team composition though, so I'll be saving that for another time. Let's go back to the version of the clear that didn't make all these optimizations though. Since we got lucky with Hayato hitting the cav on our first try, we don't need to spend our actions supporting Hayato. We can instead make sure everyone is separated. This maximizes our actions next turn. We still want Hayato to see combat on enemy phase. He can survive combat with 3 enemies thanks to his guard gauge. It's not hard to find squares with 3 enemy ranges overlap. We just have to make sure to stay out of range of these 2. Moving to the other side of this map, we'll have Scarlet weaken this paladin to set up a kill. From here, Orochi can capture this paladin. Along with the effective weapons, the level 2 Dawn Armory gives you access to the 6 weapon triangle reversing weapons. These can really increase your hit rates in otherwise bad matchups, assuming you have C rank in the appropriate weapon.
All in the cards.
This maneuver leaves Scarlet in range of a bow, but her defense is so high that she faces no chance of death, even if that paladin hit her. Next, Korn takes out this outlaw using Renga's dual strike.
How do you do that? This is my chance.
Renka makes use of her hammer to get this kill on the Armor Knight. If you don't have the hammer, it's probably because you skipped chapter 12 by escaping with Korn before looking at the enemies. This hammer was carried by one of the Great Knights near the starting area.
You're done. This is important.
We can't let Jacob kill the remaining Armor Knight here though. It would leave him exposed to one of the cows on the left. The Armor Knight ending up in that position is completely RNG dependent, but our positioning makes sure that everyone in his range can kill him. That way he won't be a problem for us next turn. He moves first and chooses to maximize damage by attacking Jacob. This attack also brings a Cav in an awkward position, but we'll deal with him later. In Fates, effective weapons have their might tripled against appropriate targets. That steel bow's 11 might turns into 33 might against Scarlet. But that still isn't enough to kill her thanks to her 22 defense and 30 HP. Since Hayato isn't in range of Sakura's aura, the enemies here are doing even more damage to him this turn. He'll be able to survive thanks to the guard gauge though. The enemy AI in this map is weird. You can bait individual enemies by being in their range, but baiting one of them won't trigger the entire group, so this paladin just leaves his group behind to javelin a small child. The rest of them are scheduled to aggro based on the turn number. This turn, we'll start by feeding this paladin kill to Hayato. He's equipped with a javelin. It lowers his doubling threshold by 5, so Hayato only needs 16 speed to double him. Right now, Hayato isn't there yet, but after Azura's inspiring song, he'll be able to reach that benchmark. Reyna makes sure she isn't in range of a bow while she's chipping the paladin. And Hayato tests his luck with a coin flip's chance of landing the killing blow. In this instance, Hayato hits, but he doesn't have to. Thanks to Azura and Silas, we can give him 2 more chances to kill a paladin. In each of those 2 chances, he'll be able to double the paladin. This makes his chance of success extremely high. Of course, if the previous turn was particularly unlucky, there might not be enough opportunities for a second sing, but Hayato will only need to hit the paladin once out of the 3 or 5 chances we give him. Because remember, Inspiring Song's speed boost will allow Hayato to double this paladin, giving him even more chances to kill in addition to his skill and luck bonuses, further increasing his hit rates, in addition to the extra boost from Azura standing next to him. Returning to the world where he hits on his first attempt, we move Hayato to the left. We make sure he's in range of both of the remaining calves in the group. This lone cav in the center is really annoyingly placed. Oboro can easily kill him, but if she does it from below, she won't be able to bait the rest of the calves in the group to the left. If she does it from the left, she'll be exposed to 3 enemies at low health. She'll be too far away to be healed from outside of enemy range. That's not a great spot to be in. Instead, we'll make a compromise. She won't kill the cav herself. Instead, she'll heal herself. This lets Korn use her dual strike for the kill.
I can always count on you.
Next, we need to take care of this outlaw. Scarlet could do this herself, but Rinka taking this kill lets us position better for next turn. It also lets us give our experience to a unit that benefits more from it.
Stealing my prey.
We also need to make sure that Jacob is away from Corrin. This ensures that Corrin uses Oboro's dual strike instead of his on enemy phase. Now all we have to do is prepare for an incredibly unnecessary movement trick. It's only really possible if Hayato has nearly perfect luck, but I want to show it off because it looks cool. Even though she started this map at her base level, Oboro has really been putting in work this map. Being able to take on these hordes of calves isn't something just anyone with an effective weapon can do. Anyone doing this will still have to be able to survive all the enemies that will be hitting first on enemy phase and kill in return. It's not a job I'd be willing to let an underleveled Mozu do. Still, for the units that can pull it off, it's an incredible source of experience. Even if she wasn't used at all before this map, Oboro has a comfortable path to a level 20 promotion just from using the Sword Catcher this map and the Beast Killer on the Wolfskins next chapter. Once she promotes, she can transition into a Shuriken class without needing to support with anyone. She has natural access to the Apothecary line, giving her Mechanist. That's a class she can stay until once you range Juggernaut through the rest of the game. She'll also be making use of her incredible personal skill. It effectively gives her a flat +3 damage boost on all her attacks during the late game. Depending on your plans for your playthrough, you might really benefit from keeping Hayato and Oboro on the bench before this chapter. The extra pair logs and classes you'd get from raising the supports of units that you don't plan on using would probably lead to a lot more benefit in the long term. Again, we have another Lance Paladin on Oboro's side as an anti-Ryoma measure. If only we had a unit that was really good at killing these Lance users over here. Fortunately for us, all the enemies in the groups that Hayato is taking on are Lance locks, so this isn't an issue that he has to face. This turn, we'll be confronting these outlaws that have started advancing. They're conveniently placed so that if you attack them from one range, you'll be in range of the calves. That's not going to stop Reina from attacking this one though.
A beautiful ending.
The other side has one placed in a similar way. Fortunately, Scarlet has enough attack to kill him with a Forged Throwing Club. This lets her stay out of range.
Not bad.
This paladin happens to be equipped with the Steel Lance. This makes him an attractive target for Hayato. Before we have Hayato charge at him, we make sure he's healed enough to take some hits. We'll also be chipping him with Rinka. This ensures that Hayato only needs to hit him once to get the kill. Before Hayato goes for the kill, we'll transfer Hinata away. Being unpaired gives Hayato a nice hit bonus for attack stance.
So weak.
In this instance, Hayato hits, but he doesn't have to. Hayato being unpaired also helps a lot with redundancy. It lets Azura transfer away Hinoka and become unpaired. This allows Silas to shelter her. And from here we can sing for Hayato again. That gives him a third opportunity to land the killing blow. Since Hayato hit the paladin on his first attempt though, we can make a more aggressive play. You'll notice that the group to the left here are equipped with lances. That's the weapon type that Hayato really wants to face. Similarly, the group to the right are equipped with swords. We really want Oboro to take them on. So let's get both of them into position to do just that. First, we'll be transferring Hinoka to Hayato and singing for him like we showed before. Hayato moves forward for a bit and switches to Hinoka for more movement. Silas shelters Azura. Korn makes sure to get the Armor Slayer for later this map. We transfer Azura back to the front and sync for Hinoka. She goes deep into range of the calves and switches to Hayato. He'll be taking all of them on. Oboro will also be going on a journey. She's transferred from Orochi to Jacob, from Jacob to Kaze, and finally swapping places with Reina to get herself in range of the sword users. Getting Hayato and Oboro into these positions this early is completely unnecessary, but it was too cool not to include. I'm able to position Hayato more aggressively this turn, thanks to the extra defensive stats he gained from leveling up. At the start of this map, he couldn't even double without Hinata's +4 speed per up and could barely survive 2 hits. That isn't true anymore. He's finally proving to the world that he isn't a child that needs to be babied through maps anymore. Now that most of the units outside of the fortress are cleared, we can focus on pushing towards the inside. We'll start by chipping this last paladin with Scarlet. Hayato picks up this kill while giving Charlotte the Pike Rune Club.
Learned your lesson?
This kill also gets him to C rank X's. This is the most important benchmark for Hayato to reach by this point in the map. Corrin will take care of this first Armor Knight using the Armor Slayer. She brought Azura with her to the front. This allows us to transfer and sync for Corrin and Silas. Azura is in range of one enemy, a Berserker with a total of 16 attack and 0 crit. Thanks to the 4 speed from Hinata's pair up, she won't be doubled and will comfortably survive. Corrin retreats from enemy range and grabs a magic tonic to trade to Hayato. You can probably guess why. She also makes sure to separate Silas so we can shelter next turn. Next, we'll be moving our other units closer to the fortress. We make sure not to leave them in range of the calves. And finally, Oboro takes a concoction. Azura is the first to witness the Axe spellcasting animation. She takes a grand total of 6 damage by the enemy with the highest strength stat in the map. And Oboro continues to feed on the feast of experience that these Cavaliers are providing.
Looks like a win. Is that all you got?
Show me what you got. Don't scare me like
We'll start the turn by setting up a kill on this Berserker. While the Berserker himself barely does any damage, the Beast Killer that will be dropped by Benny does a big chunk. Scarlet will be the one to take the Beast Killer from Benny's whole dead hands. And Hayato finally manages to get a decent hit rate. It really helps that he doesn't have to use the 60 hit Pike Rune Club.
Let's do this. Mind if I join in?
Whoa, you're strong.
This kill gets him to level 10 and gets him the weapon that we've been waiting for, the Bolt Axe. We won't be needing that throwing club anymore. Of course, we'll be having him use it at the earliest opportunity to kill Charlotte. At least, that was the plan.
No, seriously?
Now that Hayato has the Bolt Axe, he can finally reap the full benefits of his enormous defense stats. He is a true 1-2 range Juggernaut capable of killing any enemy that tries to attack him. An inspiring song from Azura and a samurai pair up from Hinata gives him 20 speed. That's enough to double the outlaws in the fortress. Now it's time to send him in. He's using a magic tonic while in range of the 8 enemies he's about to kill this enemy phase. Before we end our turn, we shelter Azura and let Jacob see an extra combat. The Sting Shuriken he has equipped lets him one-round his Armor Knight.
No surprise there. Oh!
Finally, we have Oboro one-round the last paladin.
I am at your service.
Naturally.
This ends the turn, letting the show begin. Unlike the throwing club, the Bolt Axe allows Hayato to double at 1-2 range, and this allows him to build his guard gauge fast enough to block every other attack on enemy phase. The Bolt Axe comes with the added benefit of being completely unable to crit or trigger offensive skills that might interfere with building the guard gauge. Now that Hayato has this equipped, he's probably one of your best combat units, and he's only had to be deployed for 2 maps to get to this point. And as I mentioned before, I think this is one of the best things about Hayato and Oboro. They perform at their best in maps that come after the early game maps that many of your units drop off in usability after. This means they can comfortably sit out a good number of maps, and free up your deployment slots for units you want to build support with before sending to the bench, like Tsubaki, Kaze, or Setsuna. Hayato and Oboro can set themselves up to carry you through the late game after doing their growing in Invasion 1, this map, and the Wolfskin map, even after not using them at all before this. And they aren't even losing out on that much because they have everything they need to succeed in the late game as an Oni Chieftain and Mechanist, without having to build supports to get there. This level of flexibility is something that really sets them apart from your other units, and that's why I find myself using these 2 units until the endgame in so many of my playthroughs. They'll be able to contribute to your team regardless of what your wacky plans are for your other units. And that's why I started to come around to the idea that building your Hayato after Chapter 13 is the best way to use him. It lets you experiment with any weird reclass you want with the first art seal, without making his training arc more difficult. In fact, you could even argue that training Hayato this way is easier since you can just throw him in front of enemies and watch them die if you set things up correctly. This really is a sight to behold. But Hayato isn't the only unit that can do what he's doing right now. Renga's stats are actually pretty close to Hayato's. Her low HP stat means her bulk isn't going to be quite as good as Hayato's, but her defense is also one of the best in all of Birthright. She's also available for a lot longer, making the trek to C rank axes a lot easier. She can make up for her lackluster magic stat with seal resistance and the +4 damage from her personal skill. She can actually become an incredible frontline mage, especially if she gets the Diviner class from Orochi and smells in Magic +2 and Tome Prayer into Oni Chieftain. I still think raising Hayato is a lot more worthwhile though. He'll get you another incredible magic user in his daughter Rajat. But of course, there's no reason why you can't raise both Hayato and Renga. Oni chieftains like them can really trivialize some of Birthright's hardest maps. With that, Hayato just got 12 levels in 6 turns. In that time, he went from having some of the worst base stats in the game to becoming one of the physically bulkiest and hardest hitting units in the army. And we're not even out of experience who can feed him this map. If you feed Hayato the rest of the enemies in this map, and you make sure to clear out the unpromoted enemies first, he can coast from level 1 to a level 20 promotion in just 1 chapter. Oni Chieftain Hayato conveniently comes with a D rank in tomes. This allows him to equip the Horse Spirit. It gives him +3 skill, defense, and resistance. These boosts, in combination with his insane stats as Oni Chieftain, make him nearly invincible. After that, he'll have solidly better bulk and significantly better combat thanks to his ability to double at 1-2 range. With these crazy stats, he can easily take on the boss of this chapter. I don't actually recommend killing her with Hayato though. You'd be missing out on one of the coolest captured units in all of Birthright. If you give her an Ebon Wing to reclass a Dark Flyer, you'll be able to see just how agile her horse really is when it's allowed to move off the throne she sits on all day. Thanks for watching. If you want to keep learning more about Birthright, be sure to subscribe.